Painting with MenothJohn is presented in Super Legitivision. Super Legitivision, the future of podcasting. It's .com.
Hello, I'm
MenothJohn.
and I'd like to welcome you. First of all, let me take just a moment to thank you for allowing me back into your homes. If this is your first time with us, let me extend a personal invitation for you to drag out your
miniatures
and paint along with us each week. Let's go over to the canvas here and let's get started. I believe, every day's a good day when you paint. I believe, it'll bring a lot of good thoughts to your heart. I believe, every day's a good day when you paint. I believe, it'll bring a lot of good thoughts to your heart. Let's build a happy little cloud. Let's build some happy little trees. There are no limits here. You start out by believing here. You can almost paint with anything. All you have to do is practice.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to an extra echoey episode of Painting with MenothJohn, or Painting with NecronJohn, depending upon what your word on. Folks, we just got done doing a 20-plus minute pre-ramble, and then I switch on the music, and all of a sudden we've got echo. How the hell does that happen? So now up here in the catbird seat, I see I'm all distracted now, John. God damn it. All right, up here in the catbird seat, you know him as the co-host with the most, Mr. John Spencer.
Heyo.
Okay, now, folks, we need you to absolutely chime in at your leisure right now and let us know whether or not we are echoey.
We're not, I just listened.
Okay, very good.
Just the music was echoey, it was weird.
Weird. So maybe that's something, John, related to the unfucking of the audio thing that I had to do. Maybe I don't have it quite going to the right output just yet.
Okay. He says, I'm a little echoey, so maybe it's your output in general.
Well, you know what? If you're listening to it right now, John, and it doesn't bother you, then I guess I don't care.
Yeah, I am a little echoey. I just listened to it.
Okay, what about now? Can you, let's listen to it now, John.
Let's listen to it now. Let's see how long it takes to catch up. Let's see.
Love sorting this stuff out during the main part of the show.
Thumbs up for justice.
Okay, so we're all set now?
Yep.
Okay. It's amazing that I've remembered all of the stupid buttons that I hit. So the thing I had to click on this time, John, was the little speaker button that's on XSplit. I needed to mute that for some reason because...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, folks, good. We're welcome to Painting with MenothJohn. I'm MenothJohn, and of course, we have already introduced my co-host with the host, Mr. John Spencer.
That's me.
Yeah, and you know, as we are wont to do on this show, we like to start off with what we're indulging in tonight. You know, John, it's been a long time since I've had Kraken on the show. Do you know that?
It has been a while.
Yep, this is gonna be another night that I don't have Kraken on the show. So I'm drinking this stuff right here. It's called Cabin Fever. It is a maple-flavored whiskey, and I will tell you that this is not a substitute for sortilege.
Well, I'm going to start off with this Jim Beam Maple, and I can tell you it is definitely not a substitute for sortilege.
Sortilege is beautiful. Sortilege is a poetically beautiful piece of alcohol expression. And this is, so back in the day, I was a product developer for General Mills, and so I had to taste a lot of shitty flavors over the years. This could have been one of those shitty flavors. It is, it doesn't taste anything like maple. It is reminiscent of a sad version of Mrs. Butterworth's. That's no bueno. It is smooth as a Wisconsin road, and we don't use taxes around here that often. So.
Is it as smooth as your drive to that TempleCon once?
Not that rough.
Okay.
Not that rough. That's reserved for Sailor Dan.
Yeah. I don't even know why you continue to drink that shit. Sometimes you just got to pull the plug and, just be like, I ain't drinking this shit anymore.
Oh, I've pulled the plug on that. That's not happening anymore.
And this is out there for everyone. I applaud trying new alcohols You get it, maybe it's not the thing straight. Try some mixes. But if you get through a handful of things to mix, don't go crazy trying to make bad alcohol good. Just give it to your alcoholic friend or just
Yeah.
put it in
Enable
the
that
cabinet,
fucker.
leave it for forever, and just go into something else.
Yeah, there
cut
you
your
go.
losses.
There you go. So, on behalf of cutting your losses, hey, Ron.
Ron.
I mean, it's not as bad as a proctology exam, but it's not good. It's not real good. There you go.
This is mapley, you know?
Yeah.
So to really analyze, it just doesn't have, it's not the right combination. And sometimes that's it. Sometimes you just get things in the right combination.
Absolutely.
Everything comes together.
Yeah, just like this show. You know, folks, it has been, we've been doing this show for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
When the hell did we start this show, John?
I don't know.
4 years ago?
And you were single.
Yeah. Well, I'm still single. I'm just spoken for. And
I am not married, so.
yes, that is true. And, you know, I don't think the show had anything to do with that. So, but it's during that whole time, we have painted almost exclusively models from the Privateer Press and talked about War Machine and Hordes. And, John, we have done some models from Rivet Wars. We have
Wars and some Guild Ball.
a little bit of Guild Ball.
A couple random. Didn't you use some Bones models?
Yeah, I've been fucking around with some Bones models too, but I think like I said, almost exclusively, not exclusively, almost exclusively, and But I hear, John, there's an up and coming little upstart miniatures company out of England. I don't know if you've heard about them. They call themselves Games Workshop, which is kind of an ostentatious name if you think about it. I don't know if it's going to catch on.
Yeah, it's too close to that old role-playing company, Game Designers Workshop. What are they thinking there?
I know. I think they're trying to gravy train off of that success. They put out a little miniatures game here, Warhammer 40,000. Now, I think looking that far in the future is dangerous, John. I'm thinking we're gonna see technologies that we can't necessarily identify with in a game like this. They have these things they call them Space Marines. Now, what the fuck were they thinking when they came up with Space Marines? Could they not have been a little bit more creative?
Well, they do call them Adeptus Astartes also.
Oh, well, fucking Latin to you too. So they have they put out this, I think it's the first edition of this game. I've never heard of it before. They got this. So on the cover, they've got like skulls, and they got a snake and an eagle. I think that's supposed to represent the Democrats and the Republicans. You decide which animal's which. And then I bought they got this other book called Xenos, which, they couldn't call them aliens. They had to call them, oh, you've got the book too. How did you hear about Games Workshop, John?
Rumor has it I used to work for these guys.
Shut the front door. Now,
yeah.
I've been thinking that this was just like some rip-off of Blizzard games. I thought this was like StarCraft rip-off, but you're telling me that this has been around for some time?
Yeah, it's been around for a little bit. Rumor has it that I haven't worked for them quite some time. When I did work for them, it was for 10.5 years.
Wait a second here. Well, I'll tell you what, that's a really slow startup, to be honest with you. I don't know that they're going to make it. They've been probably just shuffling along for those years. But I bought these. I bought an army called Necrons. Necrons, I think they're called. They don't give you a pronunciation guide in this one, like way that Privateer does. So I got Necrons, and I didn't go in heavy. This guy had some models laying around he didn't know what to do with, and I bought them from some guy in San Diego. He said the game was dying and didn't want anything to do with it anymore. And I figured, shit, I'd just get me some new models to do, because Necrons are going to be something I'll be painting on the show moving forward here. I
heard you were looking at the Teu for your boy potentially.
Yeah, some Teu for the greater good. They say. I don't know if I agree with that. They just look like a bunch of robot fuckers. I think they're ripping off Infinity or something. So I don't understand where Games Workshop thinks they can just reprint all this material, and but that's fine. We want to help them. we want to help promote their game. I understand that they're just catching on, and with this first edition or second edition that they call it, we're going to be all over eighth edition. You know, in all seriousness, folks.
Yeah, I was wondering how long you're going to take that bet.
In all seriousness, there is Games Workshop has done everything it possibly could do to alienate customers over the years, but it looks like they have turned the corner, and the sleeper has awoken. And John, I don't know what it's like in your meta, but there's a lot of buzz about the 8th edition 40K.
There is a lot of buzz about it, especially local guys. In fact, yesterday after we got done with lunch, we hanging over to El Marshall's place so we could paint some Dark Age models, and we just talked about 40K for a while.
Yeah, I mean it's
Took
fun.
a drive up to the local store. It's where I bought this, so figured between all of us, if we each have one of these index books, we can play whatever we want.
Exactly.
Whenever we want.
Yep, and when I was up at the game store on Thursday with all with Mr. Matt Wonky and the whole crew up there at Games Universe, everyone was abuzz while we were playing War Machine and Hordes about that, and legendary brushhead Eric Defoe had passed along a guy link on Facebook that a guy was selling some of these Necrons, or Necrons as they are actually pronounced, and so I went in and decided to finally scratch this itch. And, I'm going to have a lot of... Tonight's episode, while I paint pirates, is going to be a lot of questions, John, because I know that you have a lot of experience with Warhammer. And, maybe you can help me understand some of the differences between the games and kind of how turns unfold and some of that kind of stuff.
I'm not super up on the fine details of the rules because I haven't actually gotten the rule book yet. We talked about it a little bit, but it has always been a pretty simple game, and they've been aiming for it. And actually, I want to address a comment on Facebook. Justio White says that he hasn't listened in months because he's disenchanted with War Machine Hordes, but he's glad to hear that we're going to talk about 40K. He said 8th edition showed him fun that I haven't had in the game in years.
Wow.
And I think that's a little bit what's happening is it's not that people don't like War Machine Hordes. It's just that I think maybe we've all been too into it and having a hard time finding our way. And sometimes you just want a little change of pace, or as we call it locally, we're just diversifying our interests a little bit.
Yeah,
it never hurts to have an army for a game. Like, oh, hey, let's play some 40K. Okay, I got an army for that. What the heck?
Yeah, and the way that I've seen, as I haven't looked through all the scenarios that are in the book, but it seems like it plays very cinematically. And, it sounds like it should be a lot of fun. I mean, this is a game that I have no interest whatsoever in playing anything related to competitive on it. I don't care if I win, lose, or draw, or get the shit blown out of my stuff. It's going to be awesome. I'm going to be like making movies on the table, and it's going to be amazing.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be a good time. And it's all about having a good time with your buds. Doesn't matter what game you do. If you could get the old original chainmail rules and have guys with no powers or anything, with just swords and shields, just beating each other up. And if you're having a good time, who cares?
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of what just so you know that when we do painting with NecronJohn, which we're not changing the name of the brand by any stretch of the imagination. But thanks to Doug Hamilton for making that sweet, sweet picture for the podcast. And if you haven't seen it, get your ass over to the Painting with MenothJohn Facebook site and take a look at it, because that man is amazing. Because shitty Photoshop is best Photoshop, and he took the cake on this one.
It was very good. It was very amused the hell out of me.
Yep. So if you are enjoying the show and like to see us continue to make the show, please head on over to patreon.com/MenothJohn. That is where you can sign up to support at the $1 level, the $2 level, the $5 level or the oh my fucking god $10 level, where you will get everything from sexual favors to I don't know, a dinner with me and I put out. So there you go. And at the $1 level, you'll get the pre-ramble delivered to you using all the power of the internet. And on the $2 level, you will also get the co-host corner, which is John.
Which is my little corner of the podcast where I talk about movies and games. I've actually been talking about other games for a while. I actually hadn't touched 40K yet, but I might put a little bit in there.
Yeah.
As I think about stuff. Currently, I'm doing the Avengers Initiative, where I'm watching every single Marvel movie again. and rating it not necessarily on the normal scales, but I got a couple criteria I go through to talk about it and see if it's held up and how good is it overall.
Right. So that's at the $2 level. At the $5 level, help us program the show. We'll take suggestions if there's an episode you want us to do. At the $5 level, welcome to the inner circle. And at the $10 level, like I said, I don't know, sexual favors, whatever.
Yeah. $10 level, you can definitely you can start throwing ideas our way in all sorts of things.
Yep. So there you go. So that is the business part of the thing. I'm going to go ahead and bring the painting cam up here, folks. And we're going to swoop in the crotch cam. There's my crotch.
My angle's a little weird because this new monitor I have, courtesy of my consigliere of computer affairs in Morton Joe, is a little bit taller than my old one, so it's angled a little down. It's a little weird.
All right, so I am painting these guys, and I need to fix the zoom on this, so please stand by while...
Press gangers.
Yep, so I'm going to go ahead and zoom this thing in here. And please stand by while I exert control of the internet. Woo! There we go. And save that nonsense. And we are going to go ahead.
He controls the horizontal. He controls the vertical.
That's right. And sometimes I even control my bladder. So there we go. We are going to go ahead and I'm going to start working on these guys. As you can tell, they've already been primed, black, zenithal shaded. And we're going to start with the lass and start working on doing some washes with her.
She's my second favorite model in the unit.
The first has to be the guy with the bag.
God damn right. The bag is eternal. You cannot kill the bag.
No, the bag is amazing. But we're going to go ahead and start with the lass and move on to there. But so, like we said, John, we're going to be talking about 40K tonight. Tell us a little bit of what we're hearing about 40K from your local meta.
Well, the guys are interested. I mean, this is a big 40K area because... people didn't know it. Games Workshop U.S. headquarters used to be in Glen Burnie, which is the city I live in.
Aha.
They moved a fair time ago down to Memphis, Tennessee, because to get into the nitty-gritty of it, they got lots of tax breaks on making a warehouse down there. And the only thing keeping us in Maryland, apparently, was the CEO, former CEO, Ernie Baker, who's going on to other stuff. And... when he got let go, they were like, we're moving to Memphis.
We're moving to Memphis.
And it really, that combined with a down period for them, let's say, where they didn't make the best business decisions, has sort of hurt them, not just in this area, but everywhere.
Yep.
And they're on the rebound now. Their new team is on the money.
Yeah, they seem to be on point.
They're not 100% on point. I'll talk about that a little bit later with some things, but they're nailing it. They're hitting the right notes and making good stuff, and making good stuff at good prices now too.
Yeah. So John, remembering back with your history with Games Workshop, or maybe some of the missteps that they had, in your opinion, what has been the biggest changes in their business model with this new edition and some of the things that they're doing differently these days?
Well, I can't really speak to it. I'm not as in touch as I used to be with stuff.
I'll make stuff up. That's fine.
Make stuff up. But it does seem like I've heard rumors that they actually had correspondence with a lot of big 40K players, tournament players, what have you, and talked to them a lot about what do you want to see next edition of the game. Because while 7th edition, the one before this, came out and had some stuff people liked, it didn't necessarily hit the way they wanted it to. So they're like, well, what are we doing wrong? How do we fix it? I don't know if you guys had seen any 40K players, but it became a lot of big models, not quite the cool game we wanted it to. It would be sort of like akin to if Colossals and Battle Engines had taken over, War Machine and Hordes. It felt like that for a bit, looking at the stuff. Infantry was just there to get in the way and die, while the big cool stuff did all the work.
Sure.
And while that's not necessarily a bad thing, it's not healthy for a game. So rumor has it they took a bunch of guys over, talked about what they wanted the rules to be, and I think the rules maybe reflect that a little bit. Aside from a handful of very minor problems that you can resolve in the age-old GW tradition of roll a die, even you're right, odd your opponent's right, and continue on the game, the rules seem pretty tight.
And it was one of those, actually, that was one of the things I noticed as I was reading through the rule book was, they call that the most important rule.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason, obviously, that it's so important is the fact that it keeps the game rolling. It keeps the game moving.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, at the end of the day, you're there to play a game, not necessarily to have lawyers engage in a protracted court battle at the table.
Yeah, that's for Games Workshop to do.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We'll see how that...
take that shot. That actually is still a thing with them. They are hyper protective of their IP. And a lot of the things they've done recently, rebranding certain armies and such, is to make it a protectable IP.
Okay.
Which, business aside, sure, doesn't seem like a bad decision. You may be, people still call it Imperial Guard, even though it's called Astra Militarum or whatever. But you can't copyright Imperial Guard, and they're just trying to protect themselves.
Makes sense.
Were
they having? I've noticed in recent times that they have been referring to the Space Marines as Adeptus Astartes more. Is that once again to make sure that they have a defensible trademark? Do you think?
Yes, because they had a legal battle with someone who wrote a book with the term Space Marines in it, and they ill-advised had a lawsuit with that person and lost because Space Marine isn't really a term that you can really copyright or anything.
Makes sense.
But they're away from that. The tales of their legal, let's call it fuckery, has always been a bit overstated, because they treat everyone the same. Like if you put up a 40K armor builder, they're going to treat you the same as if you were straight stealing their product with a legal letter saying cease and desist.
Mm-hmm.
It's just there's a way to do things. There's not like they hate people. It's like this. This is a legal thing. We leave it in the legal department. It was to the point where if anyone ever called up, I worked customer service. If anyone called up and mentioned anything about a legal issue, we had to tell them we were no longer permitted to talk to them because we're not qualified or allowed to talk about legal matters.
Makes sense. I mean, if I was a company, I wouldn't want rank and file customer service people necessarily making any kind of commentary on something that's related to a legal affair.
No, but it always came off the wrong way.
Yeah, I hear you.
There's no way to spin that well. But when I was in Games Workshop, they were very customer focused. Then the new guard came in, and they wanted to be the boutique, hobby line. Like, we're a miniatures company that happens to make rules too, was their big thing.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, they still make arguably the best models in any miniatures line. Like, pound for pound, they probably make the absolute best from A to Z. With obviously some things coming in a little lower, some things a little higher, some other companies being able to match them in certain things, but from A to Z, they're just, the quality is there.
They've got such a strong presence in polystyrene.
Yes. Well, it's because they actually own their own, unlike every other company which has to get it from China. Well, they do for some in China. They actually have their own,
injection molding machines
to make injection molding. And they've been doing that for years. I mean, they got into it early, which was super smart of them. They're the perfect tale of the rise and fall and then rise again of a company where they made a lot of great decisions early, built their brand, made some questionable decisions, started to go down, and then just utterly shit the bed. I mean, there was a dark time when they basically couldn't do anything right.
Yep.
If you will, they had a bad business plan, and they stuck with it, which, is something. Too many companies change their business plan every as the wind flows.
Right.
They stuck with it and then realized it's not working, so they need to reevaluate. And now they're going a new plan, and their new plan has been great.
In your opinion, John, what edition did they really start to turn the corner? It sounds like 7th edition. They tried to start doing some things, but they maybe didn't have the institutional knowledge on hand to make the big differences in the game.
Well, 40K wise, I would say 4th edition was the peak.
Mm-hmm.
It held through a bit in the 5th edition. 5th edition was not quite as good, but still pretty good. 40K has always been vehicles are terrible, vehicles are awesome, back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like they've gotten that under control in 8th edition. But so yeah, 6th edition was not terribly well received. And then they fell into the making a new edition too quickly problem.
Got it.
And then they tried to fix some stuff, their data faxes and all, where they had formations of stuff. They tried to make it a good, fun game, and it worked to a big extent that it kept them going. And then 8th edition came out, and it looks like they've just hit a good, solid, fun game.
Cool. Now, you I know that you have not studied the new rules necessarily, and you don't have a lot of details, but you have been doing some talking with some folks and who are knowledgeable and have maybe spent a little bit more time. Where are the big differences in the game in this edition, and what's driving the hype train on this?
Honestly, simplicity.
Okay.
They just like, we're going to keep it simple. Like you can tell from reading just any of the index books, they've kept all of the rules for weapons fairly simple. It pretty much fits in a line. They don't have anything so complicated that it doesn't really fit in a line or two description with the weapon, which is a great idea. And they've just kept everything easy to use and approachable, which has always been their bread and butter. They were always joked that they were the entry level. You told people how to play 40K, and then afterwards you taught them how to play a more complex game. The real joke was everyone gets into the game with 40K, and then they eventually graduate to Warhammer Fantasy.
Okay, because it was more complicated.
Fantasy was the more complicated one.
Got it. And it seems like, as I was reading through the rules, that basically what you have is you got your successes and stuff like that, and it tells you right there on the data sheet for the different model what you need to roll to hit different things. And then you've got very simple modifiers, -1s to rolls and things like that are very simple to work with. And I guess I was surprised as I was looking at it that it seemed like a pretty straightforward little game.
Mm-hmm. Well, the core of it's still there. I mean, and one of 40K's most impressive features is how the core rules are still pretty much the same. They've changed some stuff here and there. This is actually 8th edition is sort of like a combination of like 4th and 2nd editions, in my opinion.
Okay.
They got rid of some stuff not really necessary. They added some stuff back that had gone before. But they're into simple, and really, honestly, the whole weapon skill is a big change, because weapon skill used to be totally based off of comparative.
Okay.
If you're a higher weapon skill than your opponent, you hit on a 3.
Yep.
But now they're like, nope, we're just going to tell you what you hit on. Doesn't matter how good your opponent is. We'll work that into their stuff.
Okay.
Which is cool. And then the ballistic skill was always... I understood what they were doing for, but it was always like this... It was like an extra step in there, because it was literally 7 minus your ballistic skill was what you needed to roll equal to or higher than to hit.
Okay.
But they just like, let's get rid of that and just put the math in there, which is a great idea. I don't know why I didn't think of that years ago. It actually goes into something I talk about occasionally as sacred cows. I think that whole formula had become a sacred cow, and all the designers being, immersed in it was like, oh, we know what it means. It's not a big deal. Not thinking about the average person coming in and going like, let's get rid of it and just make it do what it says.
Sure. And that was another thing that I noticed is I was expecting to see math and tables and things like that, and I saw none of that when I was looking through it. The only table I really saw in the rules was when you were looking at God, what the heck was it? There's a table in there where you're comparing, I guess, the to hit that you need. I forget what it was. I'm gonna look through it here later on, but
there's a couple things like the toughness is a little bit of a table, the strength of toughness, but it's still a lot easier than it used to be.
Cool. Anyhow, so the streamlining of the rules is a big change. Have you heard about any other changes, John, that are really kind of being pointed out by some of the other players that are really driving them to be excited about this new edition?
Lots of simple stuff. How their difficult terrain works is just subtract some distance from you charging.
Got it.
Simple, basically. I mean, that's great. None of this half distance, blah, blah, bullshit. I mean, I understand having the granality of being like, oh, I'm going through terrain. having a set modifier for going through terrain means you can put whatever you want there. A little grass hedge just slows you down a little bit, forest. Let's just make it, easy to deal with. And I think that's like I said, it's going to be the watchword of the edition is easy to deal with. The quicker you get guys playing, the quicker they can have fun.
Everything sounds really very positive here. Are you hearing any comments from some of the longer-term 40K players that are maybe some grumbles? Oh, we don't want this, or because I mean, when Age of Sigmar came out, there was a lot of negativity.
Well, Age of Sigmar is different because it literally took a rank and file big block of infantry game and turned it into a skirmish game and a skirmish movement game, and that pissed off a lot of people because they literally changed. The reason they don't call it Warhammer anymore is because it's not the same game at all.
Okay.
And that was a smart play. They could have explained it better, but they learned a lot from the Age of Sigmar release, which did not go as well as they wanted. They learned a lot of stuff from that.
It seems like it, because it seems like this particular release seems to be going very, very positively for Games Workshop.
Yeah, absolutely. Stuff's selling out.
Yeah.
The local store sold out of rule books, and of the 5 books they put out for armies, they had 2 left.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's doing well. It's always been a good 40K area. There are some grumblings about it. Some of them are mine, some of them are people's. Some grumble that they changed a lot of stuff fluff wise, but they have, and this is a problem with any game, well, almost any game, is the more stuff changed, the more stuff stays the same.
Okay.
You can't do too much, even though the home world of the major Imperial Guard regiment that was right there on the Eye of Terror, which is where Chaos comes from, for the most part, is destroyed. It's still, it's not like
the Acadians, right?
That changed. Yeah, the Acadians. It's not like it changed a bunch. Things here or there, but they did progress the story, which seems like a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, it's still, you guys are going to settle the fact that any fiction for this stuff is going to take place with either not quote-unquote important characters, or it's just not going to, people aren't going to die.
Yep.
Everyone they killed, they brought back somehow.
Some of the things that they talked about, like possibly the Emperor being taken out, did not happen.
Yeah, no, the Emperor's taken out. They did have a Primarch show back up. The Primarch of the Ultramarines, Roberto Gomain, came back. Hanging out for some reason with Cypher, who no one would understand why, but it's more intriguing, even though Cypher's a way more interesting character than any of the Primarchs.
Now, Cypher is who? I'm pretty familiar. I've read a bunch of the Horus Heresy books and stuff like that. Who is Cypher?
That's the thing. No one really knows. He just shows up in places, fights for whomever he wants, Chaos or Imperials, and then teleports away again. Like he's terribly mysterious.
Interesting.
But the fact that he's hanging out with a Primarch means that he's not necessarily bad, but he's one of the few models that's both Chaos and Imperium.
Interesting.
So, but the other big thing is, this is one of my gripes, is they need to get over their hang up about points.
Okay.
And if you've read the book, you know what I mean.
I've read some of it. Now, I see points in the it seems like they've invented these things called power levels, and they're trying to create this type of game where bring whatever you want, and I can see where that on one level might appeal to some people, but a lot of times I like to have a game that has a level of balance, so that at least, maybe not super balance, but at least that I can feel like, well, this force over here is along the lines of a similar force over there.
Exactly, and rather than integrating both those together, going like, hey, you only use points in match games, i.e. tournament games, or when you're going, a lot of times you're going to a local store or all, they decided to go for this power level and then put points in the appendix and put it in a very difficult way to reason through. It's not they don't work this way how you think it. It's very kind God, my brain's not working totally.
No, that's okay. I mean, so I saw that part in the
anti-intuitive. It's anti-intuitive. It doesn't work the way you necessarily think.
So when I looked at the Xenos book, which is I purchased as well because I got the Necrons, and so I was looking at the points and I noticed I saw those on there. Tell me how that's not. I guess what I'm thinking is that I would look at this game has force organization, which is something that I'm not familiar with.
Yeah, they have a little bit of force organization. Well, the part doesn't make sense is you go and look at the points for your Necrons. And
I'm sorry, John, it's pronounced Necrons.
Yeah, Necrons.
Yeah.
That's what I said. And you look at it and you go like, okay, Immortals, which are the elite warriors, are 8 points a model, but Necron warriors are 12 points a model. And you're like, that doesn't make sense.
Okay.
But then you realize that when you look at their data facts, they have options for their ranged weapons, and you have to factor that in. It's like, okay, wait, so warriors only have a Gauss flare, so that's 0 extra points a model. But mortals can have Gauss blasters or Tesla carbines, so they have to add those points per model. So it's really anti-intuitive.
So on models that have weapon choices, the point value is for the base model, and then you have to add the or does it come with the standard weapon?
You have to add any weapon to them.
Oh,
it just so
okay.
happens that Gauss flares are 0 points per model.
Got it. And I understand.
And that's the thing is, rather than putting it in there and just making the data facts a little more dense with the points, which may not have been the best thing, now you have to have this very cryptic points thing in the back that there are people who are going to look at this and be like, I don't understand why this works this way, until someone explains it and be like, oh, that makes total sense now. But boy, it's not the easy way.
Well, John, I didn't understand that. That was actually going to be one of the questions I was going to ask. I was a little confused about how the weapons work, because I thought that maybe you had to take like points off and then add them back. Like if you had, they came with a standard weapon, and then you had to take the points off for the standard weapon and then add the points for the non-standard weapon, the upgraded weapon. But you're saying that in those cases where you have weapon choices, you take that model as just I ain't got no damn weapons model, and then you add which weapon you want to it.
Correct. Like I said, it's not intuitive. It's kind of it is not, in my opinion, the best way of doing this. Especially for someone like this, where it's like, so Necron Warriors don't have any options. They get Gauss flares, period.
Yep.
While the Immortals have a Gauss blaster, but can replace their Gauss. The entire unit can replace their Gauss blaster for Tesla carbines. Why would you not just have that points listed properly down here, so you know, like, okay, they're not actually 8 points each, they're 17 points, because both those damn weapons are the exact same cost.
Okay, so let me ask a question. Yeah, there you go. There's really no reason then. So let me ask another question. Let me get my Xenos book out here, because I got questions. So let's talk about somebody. Let's look at like some of the characters. Now I know that the stuff that I bought comes with
Necron characters are funny.
It comes with Imatech the Stormlord. Now if I look in the back on the points, it says here that let's see here. Range weapons. So he doesn't even show up on here, but
sure he does.
In the point section?
Yeah, he does.
Where is he? Where is that guy?
He is
units?
under units.
Okay, units.
Second one down. They split them up.
Okay, so he says he's worth.
There's no header saying these are characters.
Got it. 228 points. Now he has all these different. He has all these different weapons. He's got the Gauntlet of Fire and then Staff of the Destroyer. The way I'm reading this is he comes with both of those, and that's included in the 228 points, right?
Correct, because the points per model, it does not. It includes war gear, while the one above it says does not include war gear.
Now let me look at an Overlord here. The Overlord has he shows up for let's see here. Where is the Overlord?
He's on the one above it.
Yep, 101 points, but he has war gear options. So
a base Overlord with a Staff of Light. You have to ask the Staff of Light, which is 18 points. So really, out of the box is 119.
Got it. So, but I can take that off of there, and with an item from the melee weapons list, which I would then go to the forward here a little bit, and I see that he could have a Hyperphase Sword, he could have a Void Blade, or a War Scythe.
Yep, and those would replace that cost.
Understood. Now I get it. Well, thanks.
And he could also take a Resurrection Orb, which you'd have to go down to the other War Gear and pay another 35 points for.
Right.
So when you get down to it, I'm sure people will figure it out. Like, it's not that bad, but it's anti-intuitive. They could have made it better.
Indeed. And I can see that where that could cause some confusion.
Though, if you just play with the power levels, which is, I think, what they're trying to do, I think they're trying to get that points granality out of there, and just go for the power level. Because I hear for most armies, with the exception of demons, that's because not Brushhead Dave plays demons, they're within 10% of the points, so that's not a huge difference.
Got it.
I mean, hell, that's about the same effect as playing the theme list in War Machine of Horde, so not terrible.
Yep.
So it should be interesting to look at how that works.
So what is how many points is a typical game of Warhammer?
I hear 2,000 is still the points.
Okay.
And it was always sort of that way. I mean, it's been that points value since somewhere middle of 4th edition.
Are there resources like War Room for 40K?
You could probably get Army Builder from Lone Wolf and have a file made that will build that for you. But every website that had an Army Builder that I could think of has been legally asked to cease and desist.
Okay. Well, it'd be nice if GW would go ahead and make an Army Builder.
Well, they had a bad experience.
It didn't work out for them, huh?
Did not. They had one for a while. It was they had 2 CDs that were not terribly expensive. Armies of the Imperium and Armies of whatever. Enemies of the Imperium, that's what it was called. The problem is that they didn't develop them in-house, and they didn't have a contract with the guy who updated it. So after a certain point, they could not get them updated.
Oh.
Because they had no control over this gentleman.
Got it.
And none of this is 100% first-hand knowledge. This is all, let's call it quality second-hand knowledge.
Yeah, that's all right. We believe in fake news here on the Painting with NecronJohn show. We'll make this shit up.
So, Bowie says they're supposedly working on a new one now, which is good because honestly, it will make things a lot easier. A computer to double-check you and make sure you're paying for your war gear properly. Because I'm sure certain models, people are going to be confused. Like, do you pay for them? Do you not?
Yep.
You know, because like your giant Tesseract thing.
Yep. That's got war gear options, I think.
It has war gear options, so it comes with like was it Gauss Fluxes or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It is funny that I have to have the book that you have. 4 Tesla spheres, sorry. Gauss Flux or something else. So really technically you have to go all right, it costs 496 points.
Yep.
And then you have to add the 4 Tesla spheres. Luckily, those are 0 points each, but you still have to look and make sure that's correct.
So it sounds like the way they've got the points, like you were saying here a second ago, is that they put the shall we say standard weapon options are the ones that are 0.
Generally, stuff that doesn't have a lot of options. Like technically, they could put Tesseract Vault in the second one, the second one where it has points including war gear, because there's no war gear to have with it. It has no options.
Got it.
It comes with Power of the Satan, it's Living Metal, Vengeance of the Enchained. I enjoy this one. That Tesseract Vault blows up, but good, sir. It blows up, but good. Granted, it's 28 wounds to get through it all, but man.
What happens? Is it like some huge blast or something like that?
Well, most vehicles say when this battle reduces 0 wounds, roll a d6 when moving to the battlefield. On a 6, it explodes, and each unit within a d6 inches suffers, d6 mortal wounds or something like that.
Yep.
This is roll d6 when moving to the battlefield. On a 4 or better, the Transcendent Satan contained within takes their vengeance. Each unit within 2d6 inches suffers d6 mortal wounds.
Whoa!
Yeah, it blows up good.
I got to get me one of those.
It's pretty cool. I have been looking at Eldar since they're pretty much the only army that I like, let's say 90% of their aesthetic. I got some cool stuff, besides Space Elves.
Yeah, there you go.
And I'll be fair, I've played just about every 40k army under the sun with the exception of Necrons, because back when I was playing, Necrons had no character because they had no characters.
Yep, that's what I've heard. It's only been a more recent thing that I think guys like the Stormlord and all that kind of stuff kind of exist.
Yeah, all the ones they have in there, yeah, exactly.
And go ahead.
They had characters. They had the two actual Satans. They had
Yeah.
the Nightbringer and the Deceiver, I think it was.
Yep.
I'm reaching way back trying to remember these things.
You're doing great, man. You're doing awesome. So that's great. I mean, I think have there been any questions from anybody that regarding 40K and our kind of asking us what we're going to do with it or anything like that?
I don't see any in the chat room, but as you well know, our buddy Doudark actually sent us an email this week asking a flippity blue.
Yeah, why don't you bust that thing open and let's talk about that one.
All right, he says, so there have been a rash of people posting on social media about trying 40K's new edition.
Mm-hmm.
Conversations always happen on these posts, and 10 out of 10 times there is someone who always comes in and talks like how it's just not as good as War Machine of Hordes. Why is it as a community we feel the need to pee on someone else's hobby Wheaties and just can't let them enjoy what they're doing, even if it's against what we're doing?
God, John, this is such a nerd
That's
thing.
A deep question.
It's such a nerd thing. My nerdism is better than your nerdism, and I don't feel good about my nerdism unless I can piss on your Cheerios. And that is...
It's actually deeper than that.
Okay.
It goes into everything. It goes into sports, movies, songs, everything. It's people don't want to feel like maybe they've made the wrong choice or what they have isn't as cool, so they need to it probably goes deeper than that they need to take other things down to make their thing seem like it's the best.
It's like a source of validation, isn't it?
It's a source of validation. It goes so far as to how people are too, is they like to see people brought low so they can feel better about their own life.
Right.
It's deep psychological, and these guys don't mean to do it. I'm certain they're not trying to be malicious. It's just human nature.
And folks, if there's one thing that this show has and always will stand for, is that life is not a zero-sum game. Everybody can win. Everybody can have a good time. Everybody can enjoy themselves and do things and play the things that they want to play, how they want to play them. And
you can like the music you want to like. If you want to listen to nothing but Iggy Azalea all day, God, that's your God-given right.
Yep.
Just do it.
I don't have to enjoy it, but that's okay. But that's your jam, not mine. And that's fine. If it brings joy into your world, then by God, you win. And, folks, I tell you, that's something that we will always stand for on this show, is for you to jam your way. And, right now we're looking at this as being a new jam. This sounds like fun. And if you're having more fun than you're living life, we're not on this planet for that damn long.
Nope.
And... we ought to pack as much fun and good times as possible. I mean, clearly we got to work and we got to, pay the bills and all that kind of good shit and be a upstanding member of society. But at the end of the day, you do need to have a good time while you're here on this thing and do right by others. And one of the ways you can do right by others is by not pissing on their Cheerios. So please, if you're listening to this show, be supportive. Try something new. You might enjoy it.
It's hard, but try to do like your parents always told you, or if they didn't tell you, like they should have told you, is if you can't say something nice...
Yep, STFU.
Yep, exactly. And you can't do it with everything. You're allowed to have opinions. Just try to phrase it more constructively.
Right.
Now, this is coming from the guy who rips movies to shreds as part of this podcast and stuff. But I try and see the good in things. Who is it? Trollton Hess and I had some conversations about movies, and I'm like, look, it's okay if you don't like the movie because of that. But keep in mind, that is your problem, not necessarily the movie's problem.
Yep.
Just because you don't like it doesn't mean there's a problem with it. Sometimes it's just not your thing. Everything does not have to be your thing.
Yep.
It's okay.
It is 100% okay. So I think that was a really good question from Dowdark. Really appreciate you sounding off. But folks, this is a thing that we're going to be talking about and that we're going to be painting, and it's going to be fun. I'm thoroughly enjoying I'm going to be enjoying the ride. I'll tell you that. It's a new thing to learn. And folks, in this life, if you're not learning, you're dying. So
on Facebook, Justio White comment again said Battlescribe is a great army builder phone tablet app.
Battlescribe.
So
yep.
You have to take a look at that.
I did download. I think I looked at that. Hang on. Let me bring up my phone here over here. Because was looking at it. I was checking it out, and I don't know that I figured it out. Yeah, I got Battlescribe. I did download that, and so I'll play around a little bit with that and see how I can add the points up in it and learn how to use it effectively. I mean, obviously, I know it's not going to be War Room, so I got to learn a new program. But that's my problem. That's not the program's problem.
Yep. A lot of people commented. People was like, my toy is better than your toy. Don't yuck my yum. The engineer says he never tries to do any more. His local community is too small to talk smack about other people's game choices. Absolutely true. Brother Gott says when the ego identifies with a certain thing, the ego will defend it to the end. It's kind of our tribal nature.
Yep.
Super cool. Maxim DT did have a couple questions for us.
Shoot.
None of them serious.
That's fine.
Coke versus Pepsi.
I'm more of a Coke guy, to be honest.
I'm a Coke guy also.
And original Coke, man, I wish I could drink that shit. I wish I could drink all that sugar, because original Coke is delicious.
It is.
And Mexican Coke is the best of all Cokes.
Oh, my God. Oh, is it?
Oh.
I'm a old school, go to the roller rink, cherry Coke, because they mix grenadine with the Coke type of guy. Holy moly, that stuff is so good.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
I don't know how I don't have diabetes from drinking all that shit. I will thank my lucky stars.
Yeah, grenadine is wonderful. It really is the best of all cherry Cokes.
Oh my God, yeah. He says Xbox versus PlayStation.
I'm a PlayStation guy. I don't know that is a supportable position. The Xbox does have a lot of really great things going for it. I think that the horsepower of Microsoft behind it has really been very helpful, especially in the last few years. I think it integrates better than most things. But I continue to have PlayStation.
I no longer purchase either. I was a PlayStation guy because Ratchet and Clank.
Mm-hmm.
Ratchet and Clank was my kind of game. Though I do enjoy the hell out of some Halo once in a while, but let's be honest, the real answer is PC.
Yeah, I honestly have very little room in my video gaming universe past Elite Dangerous.
So Maxim TT points out that he wasn't actually asking questions; he was more pointing out how people defend stuff.
Oh,
his last one was car brand versus car brand. I'm like, well, some people are loyal to car brands. I was loyal to Ford for the longest time because my stepfather worked on Fords, and not only being practical because it was easier for him to work on it, that's all the people he knew.
Yep. I don't drive American cars anymore thanks to the Jeep Corporation. So Jeeps can burn in hell.
I will consider any car that is priced right and looks cool and's got a little zip in it.
There you go.
I.e. not my Jetta.
Oh,
actually, my Jetta's got a little bit of zip in it, but no, it's. Yeah, what do you do? Hey, it's paid off this month. Paid that shit off.
I will tell you that when the day comes that I have to get rid of my diesel Golf, the thing I will miss the most is its pickup. That thing is the torquiest damn car I've ever had. It launches off the line.
If I didn't have $1,000 to fix exhaust problem, mine would have a little more zip.
Well, there you go.
And I ain't paying $1,000. No offense.
No, why would you?
And of course, our Facebook ended.
It did? Oh, fuck,
Yep.
I forgot to restart it? All right.
It restarted for a while, but I guess it ended.
Okay, now I'm going to restart it because I wonder if there's a setting in there that I have to set. Boom.
So Legionnaire says, okay, since it's coming up and I'm starting to consider going one of these days, if you can't get a hotel room at the main Gen Con venue, is it too much of a headache to go? The answer is no, because not Brushhead Dave does that. You just better be prepared to get up at stupid o'clock every morning, drive into Indianapolis and find a parking garage and park.
Yeah.
Any of these problems can be solved just by you taking a little hit. I mean, it's not like we're sleeping anyways. Come on, guys.
Then you
Gen
need
Con.
then you need to decide whether or not that con is worth it.
And I apologize to everyone who decided to go to Gen Con for the first time this year because it's 50th anniversary. It's going to be hell.
Yeah, Yep, I can't go this year because it is. I'm going to be like going to the UK right ahead of that, and then I'm going to be going to China probably during it. So that's just not going to happen. And frankly, it's for me. It's not my jam. That doesn't mean it's not your jam. It's just not for me. It's very expensive con to go to, and it's a little overwhelming for me. I like the community stuff, and I know that you can make your own little local. You know, you meet up with people that you know and stuff like that. But man, that is 50th anniversary Gen Con, as you said, John, is going to be a zoo.
Yeah. Well, I know Not Brushhead Dave's going. Not Brushhead the Jason is going. I think L Marshall's going. A bunch of people going there. Grumpy Old Dan, who ex-owner of Drop Zone, who actually works for Privateer Press now in their trade sales department, is also going as himself, not for Privateer Press.
There you go.
Super cool. So yeah, that's all of our questions. I don't think anyone asked any more in here. Looks like Legionnaire says he's trying to get the new BNP Kickstarter, which I believe is Blood and Plunder, the Pirates game.
I believe so.
They just put that in the local store. It looks interesting. I just have to be careful with new games, so many games, and with 40K apparently being a thing locally, I have to be careful. Especially because I still have Relic Knights on the way.
Yep.
Looking forward to that too.
Yep.
Looking forward to see how many models are in the average 40K army. I know we can play whatever points we want, but I'm looking forward to less models, but it looks like they're still pretty much at the same thing. I was going to go back into orcs. I think I still have some orcs. I could probably get Grumpy Old Dan to stop selling the orcs he has on eBay, but too many models. I'm just not interested in that many models anymore.
It's a lot of painting.
Painting.
Oh, sorry.
You're funny. No.
I mean, I like the aesthetic of orcs a ton, but I have no interest to paint that many models.
I'm really looking forward to them to put out new kits for some of the other armies. I'm kind of hoping I can hold off for the most part until some kits come out, because the real problem I have with this is that if you're not playing an Imperial army or orcs, the versatility of the kits is not necessarily the same.
Say what do you mean by that?
Tau, there's only so many ways you can build a dude.
Mm-hmm.
Space Marines, holy shit. You could literally make an army of Space Marines where no two models look the same.
Okay.
In fact, my buddy Frank, who's still in the UK in the Air Force, did that with his old Space Wolves. No two models look the same. He did a great job with them. It's super cool. But, you know, with other armies, you can't necessarily have that same kind of individuality.
Got it.
And, you know, the non-convertibility of models was one of the things that turns me off to War Machine occasionally. I look forward to having the ability to convert models again to do some cool, crazy things. And I would like kits that help me, you know. I'd like to see some cool Eldar kits that have more convertibility. They got a new Eldar faction called Yannari, which is a little bit of all of them. Maybe I can do some cool stuff with that. Maybe the Dark Eldar kits have some cool stuff. I haven't looked at them in a long, long time. So that'll be cool.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that the thing to take away from all this is that, you know, this is a very exciting time. You know, we've talked a lot about GW and what they've done right and what they've done wrong in the past, and this is an opportunity for kind of to read. Maybe this is the time, if you've been on the fence, to think about that game. This might be the time to start thinking about it, because it's, you know, ask around at your LGS, because at the end of the day, you want to just make sure that you've got friends to play with.
Mm-hmm. And look at some of the models. Maybe you just go like, hey, I really want to paint this model. Buy the model, paint it. Maybe eventually you find another second model you want to paint.
Yep.
And then there may be a third. Maybe it turns into an army. Maybe it just turns into a couple of cool display pieces. Remember, this is all of these are a total hobby. You can buy a model just to paint it. Maybe local guys be like, oh, you painted this model, I can let you borrow some other stuff for that army so that you can play with them.
Yep.
You know, like I told the guys, like, look, I'm not sure I'm going to buy anything for 40K. But if you guys are playing, I'll definitely borrow an army and play you guys. I'll have a good time. Ain't no thing.
Yep. Cool.
And let's see here. Brother Scott said something that also Congo the Drummer Gun messaged me about this week. He is curious to see how Company of Iron plays out for PP.
Yeah,
I am also interested.
I am interested as well. I think that anything that drives that game towards a skirmish level experience, I think is something I want to try, because for me, War Machine and Hordes is so long of a game these days. I don't know how Warhammer will compare, but I think that right now it's, and I need to kind of force the question, I think, a little bit more when I'm playing War Machine and Hordes, to say, hey, let's play on the clock.
Yeah, absolutely. Play on the clock. I've had games go a long time, and sometimes that's fine. But play on the clock. I hear new games of 40K are pretty fast and furious. They take place about an hour and a half or so, so a similar time frame to a timed game of War Machine and Hordes, really.
Got it.
And apparently that was one of the comments I read on Facebook. I forget whom from, but he said that one of the things that old 40K was too long to play a game, and now, since they're going to play a game about an hour and a half or so, that makes it a lot more attractive. And it does. You give me a game I can play and and enjoy in an hour, suddenly I'm getting 2 or 3 games in instead of one. That's
now we're cooking. That's
a hell of a thing.
Now we're cooking.
Yeah, and it's hard to do that because of setup and tear down for a game. And the last thing you want is a game that takes longer to set up and tear down than it does to play. That's terrible.
That's Mark 1. War Machine and Hordes.
Yeah, I heard about Mark 1. Bowie used to always tell me about this, and after one of our role-playing sessions, he'd tell me about stuff, just sort of get my opinion, also kind of try and tempt me in, and I'd be like, why would I play this game? It just sounds terribly, terribly broken. But everything's moved on since then. In fact, I think the games are going so far the other way. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, they certainly fixed that problem. I mean, it used to be, folks, if you don't know what we're talking about, Mark 1, you could literally not get to roll a die. You could show up and then your shit was dead on the top of turn 1, and you never even got a chance to move a model.
Yep, heard some stuff about that. But no, interesting. I think, honestly, both games are in a good place right now. Interesting to see how they both shake out. CID, I think, is working well. We'll get to see exactly the first actual release that came from CID, see how it actually plays out. But I'm hopeful. We did get some commentary from you all that we were a little negative last time, and I do apologize.
Yeah, for sure. Don't mean to be that way at all.
Yeah, but by all means, do what you guys did. Call us out on it.
That's right.
Sometimes we don't realize it. I talked to Bowie about it a little bit. He said that sometimes, I would bring up points to which there are no defense. There are always points there are no defense against. You can with any game. And the only conversation you go from there is negative, so maybe we don't bring those up so much. Or we bring them up, go, yep, that's a thing, move on.
Yep. So thanks, everybody. I appreciate the feedback. We want to continue to be the podcast of positivity now and forever. And
Absolutely.
The only way we can assure that we do that is when, folks, we maybe get a little bit on the get the salt mine opened up. Call us on our shit, man. We want to hear about it.
Double thank you to Patrick Nielsen, who called us out on YouTube. That was and had a good conversation. He gave me a lot of ideas of what he wants to see from us in a podcast that John and I will be talking about in the future. Maybe stuff we can talk about more often.
Yep, for sure.
It's really weird right now, just because neither of us are playing a lot of games.
This is true.
Work is super crazy for me, but we should be working that out, and we should have more time to play games, more stuff to talk about.
Yep.
Maybe even some more battle reports on our website. I haven't done one in a while, just because it's hard to find the time sometimes.
Yep. Folks, at the end of the day, this is a hobby, this podcasting thing. It's a hobby about our hobby, which is like hobbyception. Hobbyception. And so, but we want to make sure that we're providing content for you, and especially the patrons who are helping to kind of keep the lights on. We want to make sure we're staying good on our promise to you guys to keep the content flowing for you and make that investment, or the support that you give us worth your money.
Yep. There's co-host movie special 1 is coming out soon. I talk about several movies that I watched while I had no computer. Hey, look, I actually even have my notebook handy. Oh, no, falling. I talk about Blazing Saddles
Love that
and
movie.
both theatrical and extended versions of Suicide Squad. Then finish off with John Wick and The Rundown.
Yep.
All those super cool. And I'll have a second one coming where I'm going to talk about Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which I saw with my mom recently, which is super fun.
Yep.
And then the remake of Death Race with Jason Statham.
Cool. Outstanding, buddy. Well, I'm going to tell you what. It is 8:06. How much movies do we have to talk about this episode?
I have one to talk about aside from the ones that I mentioned there that I'm saving for a special.
Okay. So,
But it doesn't mean we can't just jump right in because I have some other things, some tie-in to the movies to talk about.
okay. I am probably going to continue to paint just a little bit longer here, so I'm going to go ahead and bring up the media section here. There we go. And I'm going to continue to work on these guys. Now, with the Pirates guys, what I'm doing here is you'll notice I had some, I brought out some Murderous Magenta, and because they're pirates and they're a ragtag fugitive group, we're going to just kind of block out different colors across different models. We're going to do this really randomly. Like one guy's going to have the cloth on this part of his body. Another one's going to have cloth, that color cloth on a different part of his body. There's not going to be a lot of rhyme or reason to it.
Nor should there be. It's part of what makes them fun.
Yep. So,
Archimedes wants to know if you're going to be painting the Revelator, John, and I assume you'll just be doing details because airbrush is a thing.
I am not going to own one.
No?
Nope. I don't. So here's the deal, folks. I'm not going to be buying things for Privateer Press that I am not planning on playing anytime soon. And right now, Protectorate is not on the docket for at least a little while. That's not to say that it can't come back on, but the Revelator's interesting, and it's going to come out and all that kind of stuff. Maybe I'll get one, maybe I won't. I don't know, but I can't say with any great certainty right now as to whether or not I'm going to even own one.
Plus, a model like that is really hard to buy if you're not planning on using.
Yep, it's a lot of money. And to be very honest, right now, if I had $130, I'd save $30 more and get myself a Tesseract Vault, or whatever that thing is called. So,
Indeed,
because I am gaga over that thing. So, anyhow, what do you got for us this week,
right.
John?
I only have one, but it has a book tie-in. So I mentioned to Bowie during one of our role-playing sessions that, or outside of one, something like that, that I am currently rereading the Dragonlance Chronicles.
Okay.
Reading the annotated version, which is huge and really hard to read. I suggest buying that shit on Kindle if at all possible, because just holding that book up to read it is a pain. So I'm reading that, and he's like, oh, I've got the animated, Dragons of Autumn Twilight that came out for Dragonlance a couple years ago. I'm like, oh, yeah, let me see that. I never got a chance to see it. So he loaned it to me.
Okay.
And I regret the fuck out of watching it.
Uh-oh.
Holy shit.
Okay, so
let's start off with it's animated.
Okay.
And it's a combination of looks like hand-drawn and computer animation.
Okay.
Still okay. All the Draconians and dragons are computer animation. Everything else is hand-drawn. Still okay.
Okay.
The problem is both types of animation are so shitty that this had come out when I was in high school in the early 90s. I still would have thought it was not that good.
Yeah.
It does not hold up at all, and it came out right before Iron Man. It is a decade old.
Wow.
Barely a decade old. And it looks like shit, comparatively. I would hazard to say it does not hold up as well as something like Robotech. Now, granted, I mean the good scenes from Robotech. They got some shit company to come in and do their scenes, which are okay. But those scenes were like, holy shit, yeah, this is the one where they spent the money on. This is the super cool one. Doesn't hold up to that at all.
And now, what series was this, John? I'm sorry.
Dragonlance?
Dragonlance. Okay, so they went after a pretty major property with it and just absolutely fucked it right in the mouth.
Yes. And you know all those people who saw like Lord of the Rings, the Lord of the Rings series, and due to the differences, they were pissed off, even though it was a good series, a good movie series. I know how they feel, and this was bad. Like, they changed things that had no reason changing. They changed things that make no sense. So the climax. So if you haven't read Dragons of Autumn Twilight, I'm sorry. The statute of limitations on spoilers for it is up.
Yep, that's fine.
The ending is they go into a fortress, Pax Sarkis, and going to free the slaves, and they're going to drop the gates so that the armies can't come through and flood the Elven lands, giving the elves time to leave.
Okay.
Well, instead, the idea is to free the slaves, so they fight the dragon armies, and they're going to run out the fucking front gate when the secret thing is held by a handful of Draconians. So rather than killing like 20 Draconians playing dice, they're going to sneak past an entire army of them at the front gate with all these people and their wives and their children. It doesn't even make any fucking sense.
All right.
Oh, so aside from that ending portion, they cut a lot of stuff out, but you have to. Because honestly, even in the book, they split it into two sections. It's like book 1 and book 2. And I feel like they should have just gone for the book 1 and just told that in an hour and a half. I think they could have done that okay. But, man.
So as a result, the pacing was way over the top frenetic?
It just, they cut out so much stuff. There's almost no character development. The only character who really gets any appreciable development is Tanis Half-Elven, who is arguably one of the ones with the most, well, early on the most arc. I would say actually some of the other characters get a much better arc overall. Just so many iconic scenes get skipped or brutalized. And some iconic scenes get left out because they're not important. People got upset that Tom Bombadil was left out of Lord of the Rings. But we understood, pacing-wise, it does nothing for the rest of the story. It did not need to be there.
Nope. Agreed.
There's a scene early in the Dragonlance, Dragons of Autumn Twilight, where the companions are all captured, and the Draconians are worshiping this wicker dragon, and Tasselhoff figures out how to make it move and all that. So it's a cool little scene, and it's a very iconic scene, but it doesn't need to be there for the bigger story. Because at the end of the day, they get there, they're captured, they get out. Nothing really changes between that.
Got it.
So you can cut it out. It can be cut out. It's okay. But man, so they got two good. Well, they got one good and one decent voice actor, and the rest were kind of shit. Kiefer Sutherland plays Raistlin, which is fine. He does a decent job. Lucy Lawless plays Gold Moon. Which is okay. She's fine. The problem is the rest of them are just between the way they wrote the lines and the way they deliver the lines. It's just bad.
Sounds like they blew their budget on those two voice actors.
I don't know what they blew their budget on because the animation probably costs like $15. There are YouTube series that have a better animation than this.
Wow.
So the key with a low-budget animation is to make your shit stylized. So people are like, it's okay that it looks different because it's stylized. But this tries to be mainstream animation with some cute animation in there, and it just looks bad.
Got it.
And so it doesn't... So things don't hold up ever. Let's be honest. You know, you look at, say, Transformers Beast Wars. That shit doesn't hold up at all. But you watched it when you were a kid. When the kid, it was fine, so it's got a little bit of nostalgia. This came out 10 years ago. There's no nostalgia for this shit. So it was terrible. The voice acting was not good. The animation was worse. The pacing was bad. The story choices were not good. Overall, for Christ's sakes, don't watch this. It's not like if you watch it for free, you're losing out. All you're losing is time. But you could probably spend that time doing something better. If you don't love the Dragonlance series and you're kind of interested, if someone lets you see it for free, watch it. Maybe it'll intrigue you to pick up the book. The books are really good. If you love Dragonlance, for fuck's sake, don't watch this. Spend the extra hour and a half reading more of the books. I'm going to give this 4 shots of Kraken and may God have mercy on its soul.
Wow.
I would not watch it again.
With in a
Gonzo,
box
we're
with a
talking
fox.
about the animated Dragons of Autumn Twilight that was put out about 10 years ago. Just not worth it. Don't.
Well, gosh, Gonzo, we had known you were going to be near a computer, we would have had you on the show.
He might be on his phone.
Oh, he's not. He could be. There you go.
But so there's that. I am reading the book series again. The books get. I'm gonna give the books. Just because it's heavy and unwieldy, I'm going to give it a half shot of Kraken because it's really hard to read the annotated chronicles. But there is cool stuff in there. It is definitely stylistically inspired by Lord of the Rings to try and make epic. And I feel like they hit their stride. It is one of my favorite fantasy series ever. In fact, when most people were reading Lord of the Rings, I was reading that. So it holds that place in my heart that Lord of the Rings does for a lot of people. Books definitely worth it. You could read the Chronicle series, which is the main one, then the Legend series, which involves twins, Karaman and Raistlin. You can also read, I guess, it's called Heroes Volume 1, has got some interesting stuff, some of which the Legend of Huma is very good because it's very world building, very interesting stuff from Legend, as it says. The second book in that series is called Stormblade. It's very cool because it involves characters you never see before or again that are wrapped around other events that are going on. You know, they never quite meet the companions, as they're called, from the main series, but they're always right there after them or something, doing similar stuff, but not affecting the world as much. It's very cool. It is one of my favorite books, how they take some of those characters and make them interesting. Overall, I enjoy the Dragonlance series. It does eventually jump the shark, as all series eventually do. But definitely worth picking up if you get a chance to.
Cool.
John, did you watch any movies this week?
This week I had a pretty dry week as far as movies are concerned. I have been work continues to take its toll on my life and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. My Belinda and I continue to watch Deep Space Nine. Still the best Star Wars in my opinion. Star Trek. I mean.
Oh, shots fired!
I know, right? That was totally unintentional. I'm just trying to paint this guy and get it done here because I want to finish up with this model on these pirates. But you know, I think that the stories. I'm in season 2. Season 2 really hits its stride.
Yeah, season 2 definitely. Season 1's got some good stuff, but it doesn't really hit its stride till season 2, which is good because, I mean, hell, it took other series 3 or 4 seasons to get to their stride. And some, Voyager, never really hit it.
No. I find Voyager to be completely unwatchable.
I don't think it's unwatchable. If you love Star Trek, it's watchable. It's just you have to be prepared for hit and miss like you have never seen before or probably never will see again from a TV series. They will go from like, man, that episode was absolutely awesome to what the shit did I just watch?
Yeah. And my guilty pleasure of the Star Trek series is, of course, God, what the hell was that one? Star Trek, the one with Scott Bakula.
Enterprise?
Yeah, Enterprise. That's a guilty pleasure because that's fan service Star Trek.
Yeah, but I hear, unfortunately, they canceled it really as it was getting really good, which is really unfortunate. But
I didn't have a problem with it. I enjoyed that series, to be honest.
It got to the point where I was, to tell you how long ago it came out, I was videotaping it every week, and I just stopped caring enough to videotape it.
Yeah.
So, that was a thing. Well, we got time. I have another movie I can talk about that I didn't promise for the next co-host movie special.
Let's do it, buddy.
Captain Harlock, Space Pirate.
Oh, that's a good fucking movie.
It was. It does have its flaws, of course.
Yeah.
But the animation in it is legit as shit.
Yep.
It definitely scratches that. If you want some epic space battles,
Yep.
I don't mean epic like there are 1,000 ships on this side, there's 1,000 ships on this side. If there's 1,000 ships on this side, and you want to see the Arcadia blow the fuck out of them all,
Yep.
that's what you're getting.
And all kinds of wicked maneuvering and shit to make it happen,
and plans, and it is very cool. The underlying story is very good. It's just off the bullseye though.
yeah, I enjoy
The
it.
pacing, the way they wrote the story, none of it's terrible. It's just off the bullseye. Like, you see how, like, I see how if they did a couple changes, and I don't even know what the changes necessarily are, this could have been absolutely fucking amazing.
Yep, I'm with you.
Rather than just really good. But definitely scratch that itch if you want some cool epic space battles. They're there. There's not a terrible amount of character development. It's more of these are characters. Let's see how they got where they are. You learn a bunch of that stuff. Very good points. Very watchable. It's on Netflix now for free.
Yep.
Totally check that out if you get the chance. Like I said, animation's solid, story's solid. It's very solid. You know, there's I can't even nitpick too much anything in it. Nothing came up and I'm like, oh, what the fuck is this? I'm always like, yeah, okay. It hits all the marks, just doesn't necessarily hit them all on the bullseye. It's definitely in the ring right around there, but it's just not quite bullseye.
I hear you.
Definitely watch it. I give it a shot and a half of Kraken, just because, like I said, it's off.
Yep. So, not about movies, but let's talk a little bit about YouTube for a second.
YouTube, absolutely.
YouTube's interesting.
I live there sometimes.
YouTube's interesting. So one of the reasons why painting with MenothJohn or NecronJohn, depending upon what we're painting that week, is one of the reasons it exists as a podcast is because I wanted to understand more about how social media and YouTube work. So, two episodes ago, we had the episode where we went over the CID, and in that episode, each week I scour the internet for at least 30 seconds for a piece of clip art that I can just straight up steal and use as one of our thumbnails for the show. And I used a thumbnail from a series that comes out of Bollywood called CID. It is an Indian crime investigation division is what it's called.
Oh my God, I almost feel like I need to watch that.
Yes, and the picture, if you look at that thumbnail, it's three folks from India who are getting their badass on, and I just straight up stole it. What's interesting is that we have almost 850 views for that video, and a significant portion come from India. We have done nothing to advertise this, and none of our other episodes have any appreciable viewing in India. But a good solid half the views are from India, which tells me that there's metadata going on. And where you grab those pictures from can influence how you get views and how the engine in the back of YouTube puts it in front of people.
That is crazy, to say the least.
I might, for a month, only pick videos from India. Pictures from India. And put them on there and continue this particular... Folks, we are going to spread the gospel of War Machine, Hordes, and 40K to India in the next month. So if you're wondering why all of a sudden we've got, some picture from Bride and Prejudice on... You know why. 40K, and it's like it's Indian Spider-Man and Superman,
Oh God, that one, yeah. I feel like solidarity for this. You need to find some Bollywood movies that are on Amazon Prime or Netflix for free, and we need to watch those.
We will. We'll do that. Bride and Prejudice is not the worst movie ever made. It is a Bollywood version of Pride and Prejudice, obviously.
Well, yeah, it can't be the worst movie ever made because we know what that is.
Yes, and it's not Turkish Star Wars anymore.
No, it's Atlantic Rim.
Atlantic Rim. That's right, Atlantic Rim. How could I see? I've blocked that one out of my consciousness. God, Atlantic Rim is so fucking bad.
I told you not to watch it.
And then I did.
Raged against it. You watched it, and then I raged against it again.
I know. That movie's terrible. Folks, don't watch Atlantic Rim.
Do not. This is a public... Like other movies you like, we want you to watch sometimes because they got some redeeming features. No redeeming features.
None.
Zero.
Turkish Star Wars is a fucking masterpiece compared to Atlantic Rim.
Turkish Star Wars also at least shows you how to not care about copyright laws in any way, shape, or form.
This is true. Because if you go to Turkey, nobody's going to prosecute you.
No.
They've got enough problems.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, I know. All right, folks. Well, you know what, John? We made it. We did another episode.
Yeah, another episode down. Next week you get Gonzo back, but I'll be out because, you know, the roomies turn in. I'm not gonna say her age. It's not nice.
An age
She's turning
over
some
18.
young number that would make us both feel bad.
An age over 18.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
So
And we're gonna go eat sushi.
nice. Well, you enjoy a dragon roll for me because I love me some dragon roll.
I
And
will put a note to Dragon Roll for John.
outstanding. All right, folks. We're gonna be back next week. I will be painting some Necrons. That you can count on it. And I might even have these fucking pirates done. I made a lot of progress on them tonight.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they paint up pretty amazingly fast, to be honest. But hey, folks, we are going to be back next week. Yay. And we'll be back here on your same bad time, same bad channel, right here at Painting with MenothJohn. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
I think there's an adult toy somewhere called the Resurrection Orb.
I bet that feels weird.